You are listening to Two Guys and a Topic with your hosts, Alan and Rusty.
What is up, everybody? You're on live with Two Guys and a Topic. This is episode 3, the Pro Wrestling Show. I'm Rusty.
I'm Alan.
And that was Alan, in case you didn't hear him. And again, we're talking pro wrestling. It's kind of a taboo subject with some people. You have the people who love it and the people who hate it. Then you have the closet wrestling fans. Personally, I've always been an unapologetic pro wrestling fan since I was probably about 7 years old or so. When did the bug first bite you?
I don't know. I was a little guy, I guess, and it was just me. Nobody else in the house watched it, just me. Used to watch it on Saturday mornings. But I know that till I was about 14, I guess. About 14, I was unapologetic like you until about 14, and then it was actually even later than that probably. But I stopped watching it, and I haven't really watched it since.
Right, yeah, you were you kind of ended around the early '80s or the late 70s?
I ended it. It was actually the WWF when it first became the WWF. I don't know when that was, but that's when I stopped watching it. Not because it became the WWF. I just stopped. I don't know why.
Well, it changed a lot then because that's when Vince Jr. took over.
Right.
And they sort of shortened it to WWF.
Right. I used to watch wrestling when Vince was a little geeky announcer guy that always tried to look like he was terrified when he was interviewing heels.
With me, it started growing up around in Southwest Virginia.
Southwest Virginia.
Yeah.
Everybody in Southwest Virginia is a wrestling fan.
Oh, definitely so. Yeah. Well, with me, it kind of started with Mid-Atlantic wrestling. We had... I guess Wahoo McDaniel, Ric Flair,
Ricky
Steamboat, yeah.
Andersons.
The Andersons. Now, I was a little late on the original Andersons with Gene and Lars. I never did see them. But the incarnation of the Andersons, when I started watching, they brought in...
Holy?
Well, no, they brought in Marty Lundy, who became Arn Anderson.
Right.
And, it's kind of funny. I think that maybe out of all those Andersons, maybe one is actually an Anderson.
An Anderson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny like that. But, yeah, I don't know. I was kind of intrigued with the whole thing. The Great Kabuki was, like, the big deal with me. For whatever reason, he spit the Asian mist. And that's, for whatever reason, that really took off with me. I thought that was the coolest thing I ever seen in my life.
I didn't like the Moondogs when they came to the WWF.
Rex and Spot.
Yeah, I didn't like them. I just brought that up because my dog's barking. But I didn't like the Moondogs very much at all. I didn't think they had much going for them.
Yeah, the Moondogs were. I never could figure out their gimmick anyway. I guess they were just shy of being Neanderthals.
Yeah, pretty much. Now the heyday, the things that I enjoyed the most were the tag teams back then. I mean, Tony Green and Dean Ho.
Tony Green and anybody.
Yeah, Tony Green and
Tito Martel. He was Tito Santana.
He tag teamed with everybody.
He did.
But and then the Indians, Chief Jay Strongbow and Jay Youngblood, the Blackjacks, the Valiant Brothers.
Yeah.
They were all. I mean, tag teams back then were a staple and a good staple. I mean, they were on just about every card that I watched or went to. There were several tag team matches, and I really enjoyed them.
And back then, as opposed to now, tag team wrestling was a bigger staple than what it was now. Now it's like there's not really a tag team per se because it's like everybody is in it. They get started as a tag team, and then from there they go to That's just their way to getting in to become a singles wrestler. Which, I mean, the big singles wrestlers of today, over the last few years, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, were both tag team wrestlers.
I was going to say Shawn Michaels. I don't know. I know who they are, and I've watched a few of them.
Right.
I don't know much about him. I mean,
Oh yeah,
Shawn Michaels, I know he was tag team partner with what made
Marty
him big.
Jannetty.
Yeah, yeah.
They started out as the Midnight Rockers in the AWA.
That's
and then became the Rockers in the WWE. Of course, Brett was with Neidhart, Jim Neidhart with the Hart Foundation.
Yeah, and are managers a big thing nowadays?
Managers is another thing that's kind of gone by the wayside because they got so many guys now that's like they want them to be able to talk. And the cure for that back then was if the guy couldn't talk, you could give him a mouthpiece.
Right.
Like Freddie Blassie or Grand Wizard.
And that was Freddie Blassie, Grand Wizard, Lou Albano, Lou Albano, Arnold Skolin, who wasn't a very good speaker.
Arnold didn't talk. He was the only one that really played the actual, seemed like more of a managerial form.
But
I'm not really sure what Arnold Skolin's purpose was looking back. I guess I know that behind the scenes he played a bigger part.
Yeah, he did.
And I guess they just kind of give him that role, I suppose. But, I mean, a lot of people, we're here talking like this, and I know a lot of people are like, man, I hate pro wrestling. It's fake. It's stupid, and I don't understand how adults could watch this and not.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. Until I started hanging out with you, I didn't think of it. I wasn't that coarse about it. I mean, I didn't I hate wrestling. Anybody that likes it. But I used to think, why do people watch it anymore? But talking to people like you who like it and are intelligent people, I mean,
wouldn't go that far.
It's more than, I mean, you're not, when we sit down and you're talking about it, you're not like, well, I think so-and-so is going to beat so-and-so. You're talking about, what would be the best way for the match to end. It's more of a strategy than it is you thinking that one guy's going to beat the...
And in a way, but you know what? And in a way, I'm kind of saddened by that because I look at it like that now. Because when I was growing up, I looked at it as,
me too.
Wow, so-and-so beat so-and-so, or there's no way so-and-so can beat so-and-so.
And I told you that. I mean, Saturday morning when Bruno Sammartino lost the belt, I cried. I can remember turning it on at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning, and Superstar Billy Graham had the belt, and I was like, I couldn't believe it.
Right.
And I didn't cry like a baby, but I mean, my eyes started tearing.
No, I was the same way when Hogan, when they said they cheated him out of his belt on Saturday Night's Main Event, which was on NBC, and to this day is the most watched episode of wrestling history, I think, because that was the rematch from WrestleMania, and they had the referees, the twin referees, and all this. Right. It was a big fiasco.
But I mean, I don't like pro wrestling now. I mean, I could sit down and watch it a little bit, but it just doesn't interest me anymore. But back in the day, I was deep in, I've talked before,
Well, it's like it's a different thing now.
Yeah.
I mean, it ain't what it was.
Yeah.
And it's hard to understand because I can't see. It's hard to understand watching because I love basketball too, and I pretty much see basketball in the same way that I always have. Of course, that's actual, and it's an actual competition rather than a predetermined thing. But still, I mean, watching it now, it's like I don't know. I can't really put it into words because sometimes I wish I was that fan again, and I could kind of suspend that disbelief.
Right. Well, to me, it's like Santa Claus.
Right.
When I was young, I had pretty much in my mind that there really wasn't a Santa Claus, but there was always that possibility. Yeah. I was like, there's not really a Santa Claus, but what if there is?
Oh.
And that's how wrestling was for me. Wrestling was like, I was like, a guy can't get chopped in the throat, but what if he can?
Right.
And so that was always that. And then when Vince said, it's a work.
And, a lot of that, what that had a lot to do with was paying, there was a tax or something, an athletic tax or something. I forgot what it is.
I remember you telling me.
Yeah, and to get out of that, he said, this is not really an athletic competition. It's more an entertainment. So therefore, they didn't have to pay a certain fee.
But, I mean, you think about it, all those years when they went to above and beyond to make sure that.
Oh, it was serious back then, man.
The heels couldn't ride with the
faces,
with the faces and and all that stuff. And they even got in trouble at times when.
Oh, you got in big trouble. You got fined for that.
Right.
Guys would go out of the way. I mean, if you got hurt on television or something like that, you didn't show yourself in public. Or if you hurt your arm, you wore that cast.
Right.
There was. I wish I could remember who it was now. And so it was one of my favorite stories. I was always kind of intrigued by was one of the older wrestlers that night was in the match, and supposedly they got his leg hurt. And when he left that building that night, before he went out, he put a rock in his shoe.
Oh, yeah.
So when he walked out through there, he was limping.
So he made sure he didn't
exactly
didn't lose the
which I think is genius because you know who would have thought of that, you know?
But yeah, it was. I mean, again, back in the day, it was. I used to go, and even when I knew it wasn't real, we'd still go. As I got a little bit older, we'd go to the Philadelphia Spectrum and watch the guys wrestle. I saw cowbell matches, and Dusty Rhodes when he first showed up. He made special appearances up there, and it was always exciting to me because most of my Southern wrestling, Mid-Atlantic, Georgia Championship Wrestling, NWA, and then the AWA. I know that's not Southern, but
right.
I just read about all those guys in magazines. So when they showed up, I heard they were coming. I read, Dusty Rhodes is coming up to the Northeast, and now I was excited.
Yeah, that's when it was a territorial thing where now it's national, and a lot of people give McMahon a lot of grief because, I mean, if you're listening, chances are you know all about the pro wrestling, how it used to be and everything, probably the inside workings. But for those of you who are listening and you really don't know how it worked, it used to be, like Alan said, a regional thing. You had your guys in the north, you had your guys in the southern territories, you had California, you had Minnesota with Vern Gagne book. You had
Midwest stuff.
Yeah, the Midwest where
Texas.
Sam Muchnick and Harley Race and all them Texas were the Von Erichs. And the deal was if you got tired of a guy, he would leave. He would go to another territory because he wasn't. I mean, they had the local syndicated stuff on television, right, but it wasn't a national thing that we see now. And I think that's a big problem now because you've got guys who are on television constantly every time, and they really don't have anywhere to go. I mean, because McMahon's kind of. I mean,
didn't that happen with what was that? Was it TNA or whatever? There was that one show they had where there was, I forget who it was. I can't remember who the wrestler was. It wasn't that long ago.
TNA's still on,
but he went from one or Extreme, one of those. Again, I didn't watch it much, but there was somebody that went to. I mean, there's only 2 or 3 different places you can go to.
Right now, there's probably. I mean, there's Ring of Honor Wrestling, which is pretty much. I mean, that's just a step above independent wrestling. But they got a television slot. There's TNA Wrestling. Jeff Jarrett's got another one coming out called Global Impact. But most of these are just not really high-paying gigs unless you've got a name already. Other than other than going to McMahon, there's nowhere in the States to go. There's still Japan and there's still Mexico, but that's about it.
I mean, the WWE is kind of like the UFC.
That's exactly right.
Monopolized,
and that's kind of what I was looking at. I was looking at an interview with CM Punk, who was going from wrestling to UFC. And he was talking about, and I don't know if I talked to you about this or not, but, the UFC fighters, and one of the big things coming up now is the endorsement deal with Reebok.
Yeah.
And that's going to be pretty much the only endorsement that they've got. And a lot of the guys are going to lose endorsement deals on that. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, CM Punk said that he had went to Vince McMahon saying, hey, you know what, why don't, I've had offers from certain people to advertise for me to hawk their products. How about letting me wear some MMA shorts and put them on there? He said, no, we don't do that.
But didn't you say Brock?
Brock got by with it. But Brock's a different beast.
Yeah, he's a different animal.
Pardon the pun. And the thing is with him, I think he already had the deals, and it was probably part of the deal going in.
Right, going in.
To get to advertise his Jack Links, his Jimmy John, Everlast.
Which, again, the Jack Links thing you brought up, that would have been great. I don't know why they didn't think about putting him in there with
Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah. They could have turned the tables and done a messing with Lesnar.
Right. Yeah.
Sasquatch messes with Lesnar and he gets loud or something. You know. But, I mean, getting back to kind of what I wanted this to be about is why some people don't. And I don't know what it is about it that really draws us to it. Other than the fact that maybe it's, I don't know, it's sort of almost like a real-life cartoon, real-life superheroes.
I mean, I used to think of it when I was younger, as a violent soap opera.
Yeah, and a lot of people still do, especially now.
Yeah,
because there's so much talking.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk.
Yeah,
there's a lot of.
And the theatrics now.
Right. Back when I was young watching it, you didn't have any cameras in the dressing room or out in the parking lot or anything like that. And it wasn't until later on that.
Well, you didn't really have big matches on television then either.
Right.
The deal was to see the big matches, you went to the arena.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's where they made their money.
They might have something that kind of tantalize you a little bit, like I don't know, Ivan Putski fighting somebody that's
like a
Johnny Rods or something.
Yeah, somebody that had the name.
So they'd have somebody that was a good name and a good wrestler fighting the.
And they kind of had to do that, I guess, to keep it from being a hour-long infomercial.
Yeah.
For their upcoming matches.
Yeah. Well, we had, the Spectrum every month, once a month, we had matches at the Spectrum.
Was it sold out most of the time when you were going?
No. I tell you when it sold out. It was sold out when Dusty Rhodes came up and he had a bull rope match with Superstar Billy Graham. That's the only time I can think of that I can remember it was sold out. Pat Patterson and Bob Backlund.
Uh-huh.
But it wasn't sold out.
I would have thought Bruno would have sold it out like every time.
I've only seen him a couple times there.
But
he was more in Madison Square Garden than he was Philadelphia.
More of a New York kind of guy.
He was always at the Garden. Always at the Garden.
Why is that?
I don't know. I guess it's a bigger venue. You'd think it would have sold out in Philly too, because Philadelphia, there's a whole, just like any city, there's a whole Italian section of people. That,
oh yeah.
That was the draw with them.
Yeah, you have a lot of the immigrants there and everything. Ethnic. And that was what was so funny is with WWF at the time. It almost sounded like I was stuttering there. WWF. I had to count my W's. You went, just about every champion there was at that time played to the ethnic groups.
Yeah.
You had Bruno that was Italian.
Uh-huh.
Then after Bruno, you had Pedro, which
Pedro
sort of played to the, So that's kind of the way it was.
Yeah.
But we actually got a caller right now. The area code, I know. It's a 252 area code. Welcome to Two Guys on the Topic.
Rusty, what's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, man?
Not much. This is Josh.
This is Mickey, right?
No, it's Josh.
Oh. I was wondering when Mickey got a 252 number.
Yeah.
What do you have for us, man?
Oh, not much. Just calling in. Figured I'd say hello.
Okay. Yeah, man, I'm glad to have you on. And Josh is also a big...
I was going to say, I guess if he's your friend, he's probably a big wrestling fan.
Exactly.
What attracts you to it, Josh? What do you like
just the excitement and the entertainment. I feel like it's a good soap opera for guys, is what I call it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, violent soap opera.
And it is. It's an intrigue. It's not like a soap opera you're not ashamed of, I guess you could say.
You bet. Yeah. Yeah.
How long have you been watching wrestling?
Shoot, 25. I'm 25. I've been watching wrestling ever since I could blink.
All right. Go on, man. Tell us what you were going to say.
So, but no, I don't know if you guys touched on it. I just happened to see the post on Facebook and called in. Figured I'd give you guys a nice surprise. But I really think that WWE needs to change some things up. I don't know what it is. You guys may agree, you may disagree. But that's why I'm calling in. I think that, the Authority, they're running into the ground.
Right.
I think Seth Rollins, they're running into the ground.
Right.
The whole, I guess, storyline just needs to be ramped up. I think that's the big problem with WWE now. And like you, I think, Rusty, you mentioned it earlier, I think the superstars get there and they have nowhere to go. The folks that are already peaking, like Dean Ambrose. Now, Dean Ambrose is, I hope he's the face. I hope they give him the championship. I like Dean Ambrose.
Right.
But, it's not like it was back in the Attitude Era. So you don't have your Rocks, your Stone Colds, your Shawn Michaels, your Undertakers. I think it's just a changing of the guard. These NXT guys are coming in. Like Kevin Owens, this is huge. Did you guys see that promo he cut with Cena last night?
No, that was very good. It was very good.
Promo that was the best thing I've seen in a while.
Well, their match was really good. And again, we're probably losing Alan on this because he's not really watched an episode of wrestling a full episode since a long time. But yeah, it was really good. And Owens kind of gives that, he's kind of got that old school feel to him. Of his gimmick is he is a wrestler. He's there to wrestle and beat guys.
Okay, because I've not really watched. Like I said, I mentioned on a comment, Rusty. I must be living under a rock. I don't have the network yet. I don't really watch much NXT to keep up with it. But I've seen Sami Zayn. I've seen him wrestle a time or two.
Yes.
And I've also seen. I've not seen Kevin Owens wrestle yet.
Right.
I want to see the Cena match, obviously, and Neville. Neville was at the live event in Greensboro past Saturday. He put on a heck of a show against Wade Barrett.
Neville is scary in the fact that the things he does is something like, and Neville is the guy, Alan, that I showed to you that done that. Mm-hmm. What is he calls it what is his finisher?
I was joking with my wife. I have no idea what the name. I call it like the 970 spin. That's what I call it. All I know is he flips off the top rope.
Yeah, spin in 5 different directions, backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, he calls it something. The arrow. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Let me ask both of you guys this question. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I was going to say one thing I do like. I'm a huge Sandow fan, and what they're doing now with Macho Man Dow and with Axelmania is just the funniest thing. They actually promoted that in Greensboro Saturday night, and that was I love Damian Sandow. People don't like. I love Sandow.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny to get you up on this, Alan. They've got this character, Damian Sandow, who is pretty much mimicking. He's been mimicking other people for a while, and his tag team partner is Curtis Axel, who is the son of Kurt Hennig, the grandson of Larry the Axe Hennig. Right. Who you got Sandow as Macho Man Randy Savage, sort of, and you got Curtis Axel as Hulk Hogan. There's like kind of the take on the new Mega Powers thing, which it is funny. It is very
well. That would be funny.
Oh yeah. Definitely so. Definitely so.
Alan, did you have a question for me earlier?
Yeah, well, I was just thinking of both you guys because I hear Rusty talk about this stuff a lot. Earl post things after he's watched WrestleMania, and he'll say, that was a really good match. What makes a good match? I mean, as opposed to a bad match.
I think you've got to have a lot of. Right, I understand. Yeah, other than bad wrestling, that's good. And Rusty, you may agree with me. I'm pretty sure you will. I love talking with you about wrestling anyway. But I think what makes a good match is you've got to have 2 A-list superstars, or they're not A-list, but on their way to the A-list one day. A lot of action. I like high top rope moves, like as Joey Styles used to say, "Oh my God!" moments. That kind of thing. That's what I like to see. That's what makes a good match, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, and I can agree with that a lot, but I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say what really makes a good. I'll tell you what makes a good match. Really, to me, is a lot of times it's the crowd. If they're into it.
Yeah. Well, yes. I didn't even think about that. That's just a great point.
They can kill a match too in a hurry. Which it's. I don't know.
Yeah.
To have a good match, to me, you got to have a guy who can go in there and knows how to sell, which is
right.
You got to have a guy who can really work. If you got one guy in there that can really work and sell, and there's some guys like Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels that can't have a bad match. I don't think the old proverbial have a good match with a broomstick thing, But
yeah.
Sometimes it's just the moment and the magic, and it's hard to say what makes a good match.
I just think, again, I think old school stuff, and I think of these guys, some of these older guys that were just real stiff.
Oh yeah,
and
look at Haystacks Calhoun.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Haystacks Calhoun now? He would get booed out of the building.
I mean, and when he got cheered the most was when, like, Bob Backlund atomic knee dropped him.
Yeah.
He got cheered when he got picked up over his head, over Bob Backlund's head.
Right.
I mean, there was no work there. It was just a big, heavy guy that jumped on you.
And you got to wonder who would make it today that was around yesterday. And it's just a different business now.
I mean, my Bruno.
Yeah.
I mean, Bruno was my favorite, but
Right.
I mean, he was pretty stiff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, strong. That's why I liked him, because he was so strong. But
Right. And
he didn't do anything to kick you, punch you, or throw you.
Right.
Bear hug you.
Uh-huh.
And that was
I don't know, but as far as your answer to what makes a good match,
I've seen on Facebook with you, Rusty, sometimes you'll say, I watched, Monday Night Raw or whatever, and, that was a really good show, and I just wonder what differentiates a good show from a bad show. And I guess there's a lot of things that go into that, so I really know.
So I've said it once, I've said it 100 times, that in order to have a good match, you got to have a good striker.
You're stupid.
I've been waiting the whole show to use that.
You're so stupid. Rusty and I are going to have a wrestling match in a few minutes. I'm going to be the stiff one.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
3 falls to
Josh,
the finish.
Yes.
No, I can't go for 3 falls. In about 30 seconds.
I appreciate you calling in, man. And it was great hearing from you.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate
you
calling.
too, Rusty.
Yeah, keep
Alan,
up
take
with
care of
us.
yourself.
Yeah.
I'll be in touch.
All right,
yeah, guys, I'll definitely be in
brother.
touch.
All right.
Thanks,
man.
man.
Thanks again.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That was Josh Love. Dude Love.
Yeah, that's a good wrestling name.
Josh was he called me all the time on my wrestle group show. Josh was the first winner of our wrestle group trivia.
That's right. I remember.
And Josh I've yet to meet him.
To get his prize. So Josh is a patient. Either that or he's forgetful. Patient or forgetful.
I've still got your shirt, Josh.
Yeah.
It's in a package, and your address may have changed. I don't know. You have to resend me your address, and it'll get to you somehow, man. But yeah, I mean, that's a good question. The whole match thing, and that's the golden question.
I still think somebody should be the masked evangelist.
That was your original?
That was my original. I was going to be the masked evangelist, wear a mask and beat people with the crucifix. Hit them with a big giant table Bible, one of them big Bibles, throw them into the ropes.
Do you see, let me ask you this, though. Do you see any similarities now between MMA and wrestling?
I see it, that wrestling is adopting a lot of the MMA moves. They're trying to use those moves.
But do you think that MMA, but as far as MMA goes,
absolutely.
As far as the showmanship goes?
And I hate that. I mean, for the MMA, I hate that because, again, Chad and I were talking to my son and I, because my son's a big MMA fan and wants to fight and stuff, but talking about people that talk. I mean, he was saying yesterday, he was like, if you can fight, there's guys that they're pushing their fights by
talking. Yeah.
And he said, if you can fight, you don't need to yap. People will come and watch you because you can fight.
Did you see where Chael Sonnen has actually signed on Jeff Jarrett's new Global as a commentator, which best suits him, I guess. I mean, Chael was an interesting fighder, but
but I mean, who knew who Chael Sonnen was before he started talking? Nobody.
When that match with Silva.
I mean, I knew who he was, but I mean, he never interested me.
Nearly going the distance with Anderson Silva didn't help. I mean, didn't hurt matters either.
Right. Well, right. He was really much better once he got in there.
Oh yeah.
Once he got in there, he was much better than I thought he was. Because I mean, everything I'd read about him, he was kind of
Yeah, I really didn't. And I didn't know him.
Crushed. And then he hung in there pretty good, so that's good.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, we're wrapping this bad boy up, and our topic for next week, Alan?
201 great questions. Just questions about life. I got some that are surface questions, like if, you'd like to answer some of the questions. And we really need people to call in for this, because otherwise it's just going to be me and Rusty looking stupid as normal.
Yes.
But there's some surface questions, some intermediate questions, some deep questions. I mean, questions, how would you describe yourself? I mean, that's a surface question. What was the very first impressions of your spouse or your best friend? Things like that. That's an intermediate question. So we need you to call next week. We're going to answer some of them ourselves and just get to know you a little bit better.
Definitely so.
Give you a chance to talk.
All right. And until next time, everybody, so long for now.